Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Better Call Saul Season 5, Episode 5. It's called Dedicado a Max. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And yeah, we're halfway through the season already. I mean,
Yeah, as soon as you said 5 twice, it dawned on me. I was like, what the hell?
Do you know what it is? It's because we had 2 episodes in that first week, so we've gotten to this halfway point really quickly. It feels too fast.
Throw at me as well is because I had the week off in between those and then the next 2 for me, so it feels like this is only my 3rd time watching.
Yeah,
like, this is my 3rd week.
Yep, because in too fast, it always does. It always does.
It's so unfair.
Now, obviously, we have some Mike plot to do. We have a fair bit of Saul and Kim plot. And what the plan is. Do you know my favourite thing about the Saul and Kim, like the start of this plot, is that we start off and we're at like it's the workmen, and they got their blueprints out. They're going to start working on the call center. They're out there, and I love that it took me like a good 10 seconds to notice that one of the heads that were in the circle were Saul. And then, and just for a while I was just like, sitting at the workman. I'm like, wait a minute, is that Saul over to the left? But the best part about it though is that when the guy eventually, when Saul eventually said something, the foreman was like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, that was perfect. I just noticed him at the side of my eye at the same time. It's beautiful. Yeah. So a little bit of a ruse, as Jimmy's one to do, where he's taken all the numbers off the house and then argues that the warrant is for the wrong number. And
claims they've got to go. It's on them to prove that this is the actual right address.
Yes, and the deputy, has to make a call, as it becomes a bit of a running gag. So the episode, because Jimmy keeps having more and more antics. Some of which is like we see him prepping for. Some of them I understand. Some of them I don't understand. It's like it's a whole.
Which ones did you not understand?
How did the curry factor into it?
It's a good question.
Because there was a whole thing. Because it didn't feel like he was just making curry for dinner the next day. It felt like it was part of the plan.
It was definitely part of the plan. I wonder if there's just schemes we didn't see.
Well, maybe because what he's smashing in the bag. That's the pottery that he's going to claim might be an artifact.
Yeah.
So he's got the society out, digging through. My favorite part of the whole thing though was the crushing up the batteries. From the alarm clocks or whatever it was, the smoke detectors, and like sprinkling the dust of the crushed up batteries for some mild
radiation. Enough radiation that they've got to check.
Oh, I love it. I love that the foreman he's like, this is bullshit. This is such a technicality. We don't need to do this. And every time the deputy's like, we got to check. We got to make sure. Every time, it was really funny. But not even the funniest of the episode though. The funniest of the episode, and this is a testament to how great this show is at building its characters and building when they sort of leave their comfort zone or when they leave kind of what you expect of them, which is what made this scene I'm about to talk about funnier. So there's a whole scene where Kim's with Scott or whatever his name is. And he's mad. He's at the country club, the golf course, and he's mad because he's no. And this is where she tells him, "Hey, by the way, you got a lawyer that I should probably disclose that the lawyer is." And that's the thing. We were saying last episode that we'll be pissed if no one calls her out in this. It comes later. It wasn't him.
Yep.
They teased it because he's like, I smell a rat, something's fishy here. You know what? I think he's went to him specifically to cause conflict of interest. We're not backing down.
Yeah, it was I know a scam when I see one. Like, do you though?
Well, that's what's so funny is I think he's always came across as just a little bit of a, not a douche, but like there's always been just a little bit of an unlikable quality to him. So I think there's something really funny about him thinking that he's got it like to a T, yeah. But he's actually a little bit off. He's just left the center.
It's like that whole thing of it's easier to tell a lie if you surround it in truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you hide a scam within a different scam.
But so this isn't the funniest scene. The funniest scene is when Kim comes home. And Saul's he's there smashing his pots. He's just been on the phone to Howard. Howard's trying to get him to consider the job, and Jimmy kind of hangs up on him and says he's thinking about it. He's taking it seriously, but he hangs up. He doesn't want to talk about it. This is uncomfortable territory for him. Poor Howard. His car's been smashed, and he's sitting there with his feet up, just trying to relax and get Jimmy on board.
Yeah.
But comes in and he's like, "Oh, so what's happening?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm still in the case because he insisted that he didn't because basically Kevin took this as a defeat if he lost Kim. He's like, no, I'm not losing my lawyer. This is just a sneaky business. Like, I'm keeping Kim, damn it. He's that arrogant, and as we see later, he's very arrogant. Or not arrogant, sorry, stubborn is the word I'm looking for. Stubborn. He's very stubborn. But he's like, okay, tell me. I want details. And much like Kim, I'm like, what details? There's nothing else to tell. We saw the scene, and I think in another show, in a lesser writer's hands, I would be saying this scene's pointless. They're about to regurgitate things that we already saw. But no. Not in Better Call Saul. In Better Call Saul, the fact that we saw the scene is what makes this even funnier, because he's like, no, tell me. I want juicy details. And we're like, there is no juicy details. And this is the beauty of it, is Kim is thinking the exact same thing. She's like, what? There's nothing to tell. Like, no, I want all of it. And so you kind of project. He's almost like a director. He's like, no. I want the feeling. I want this. I want that. Give me, where are you sitting? He really sort of draws it out of her. And eventually, it's like, no, you be Kevin. And she kind of like turns, and there's a whole thing where he's like, wait, he sits like that. He's a side sitter? I almost feel like I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. I could almost hear Larry David. This is the sort of thing Larry David does all the time. He'll give a name to something.
Yeah.
Like a stop and chat or whatever. And he's like, he's a side sitter? Oh. And then he's like, do the voice. He's like, I'm not doing the voice. Now, come on. He's like a good old boy, right? And Jimmy does this like really crappy southern accent. And I said, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's more like, and she kind of pauses, but then she sort of starts doing it. And she starts going. She starts doing more or less what we heard from him earlier. And it's really funny because it's Kim kind of loosening up and getting into it and enjoying the fact that she's scamming him. And it's this kind of part of like Jimmy kind of like bringing her down a little bit because she's kind of really enjoying this. And
that's what kind of sums up this whole episode is.
Yes.
Oh God, this is it for Kim.
Yes,
this is it. And I know the amount of times we've said that on this show about like, this is Jimmy's moment. This is where he becomes Saul. This is it. And I know that I feel like I'm just saying that, and this isn't going to be it for Kim. But oh my God, it feels like it is.
But then he starts doing Kim's part. Like he just kind of predicts what Kim would have said in the situation, and she's like, "You doing me?" Like, "Yeah, I'm doing you." And she keeps going, and it has the perfect capper at the end where she's so into it, and she's like, "Blah blah blah," and she's doing the voice, and Saul just kind of pauses and goes, "Kevin, would you like to take a shower with me?" He's like, "I think I would," and then it just cuts. I'm like, that scene was hilarious, and it's not hilarious because the joke itself is that funny. The joke itself is just a bad impression, but it's funny because of who these characters are and because of how well we know them, and how I thought this was brilliant. This is maybe my favourite scene of the episode, and it's not even like a dramatic scene.
It's fantastic. I will say, didn't get the biggest laugh from me though at the episode. That came in a different moment later.
That's fair.
But I mean, very funny still. So,
oh yeah,
I'm not knocking it, but there was a bigger laugh for me.
Yeah, I love this scene. This is one of these scenes where I'm sitting there in my mind. Not in a way that takes me out of it, but I almost start thinking about, man, the writing in this show is so good. Like the fact that this scene is as entertaining as it is because these characters are so well defined.
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit earlier, where you said in a lesser show, you already know how we're screaming at this scene when it gets to the review. Like you already know how. Stop just telling us stuff we've already seen. We've done this. Just move on. Get new stuff if it's not relevant. And usually 9 times out of 10 in a lot of shows, it's just not. And it's just pointless wasting of time to fill up the runtime. No,
whereas this actually gave us so much story about how she's reacting and treating the scenario and how he's sort of goading her on. There was like valuable information, even though what they were actually saying was almost entirely just stuff we already knew. Every single way they said it, the way they took it out of each other, and then even the joke ending where they're like, "Yeah, let's go have sex in the shower," like. That's like, yeah, like they're both into this, they're both having fun with this, and they're attracted to each other doing this. Like, it told us so much. But like you say, on a lesser show, this would just be a character regurgitating information we already heard with almost no value whatsoever.
Yeah, I cannot even count the amount of times we have made that complaint on a review before.
Yeah, so great stuff. More scams, of course, because this was before all the radiation and all that jazz. And we get this montage where they keep coming into like the office at Kim's, where she's with the Mesa Verde people, and it's like, oh, now he's claiming this, the foreman's an escaped convict. Oh, and now he's claiming this breaks this art history law. And now he's claiming,
she's just passing it off to different lawyers, going, "They're your area, and you can do this one."
Another scene I loved in this episode is when they have, Kevin and what's her face? That other woman. I don't know. The Mesa Verde people. That's just always what they've been in my head. And they're there, and they've got not only Kim, but her boss is there, and then the team of lawyers, right? And they're explaining to him, okay, all of this is crap, right? Because he's like, Kim, give me the bottom line. What is this? And she's like, these are stall tactics. These are just tactics to make us sort of have to fool around because it's wasting our time, not their time, and costing us money, not their money. Blah blah blah. And what I love about this is that it's her boss. It's not Kim herself who then makes the recommendation again to move to the second, location. It's the boss who steps in and says, "Oh, hey, I understand there's a second option, and this would be a victory because it would stop wasting our time, and there'd be almost no financial loss. Negligible was the word that was used."
Yeah, because Kevin wants to sue Saul and the guy in the house for doing all this stuff, and they're like, I mean, we could and we'd probably win, but it would take years, and that's a lot of time when we're worrying over days here.
And it cost a lot of money as well. That's the other thing. It would cost far more to win that fight, and I loved it. Essentially, this is the genius of Saul and Kim's plan, that they've put him in this position where the best option for 99% of people is to just say, screw it, go to the second location and stop wasting the time. However, Kevin is a very stubborn man, and
they misread him a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, he stands up, he pounds the table, and he's like, "Nah, I'm not going to let this bastard keep me away from my land. Nah, I'm going to fight this, damn it. That's my land, and we're building on it as quickly as possible. Fight."
Yeah. Stubborn isn't even the word I'd use. I'd say prideful.
Yeah.
Because it's all personal. I will not be beaten by this man in this.
Hell, and given the themes we're dealing with Saul this season, and like his pride keeping him away from Hamlet, and maybe working for Howard isn't the best thing for him, but the reasons why he's doing it, or the reason why how he's handling it, is certainly out of pride.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I love this scene because it was like, no, you did your best, and like when they're in this moment on the table and they present him what the options are, like this plan was perfect, but despite the fact that it was perfect, it still didn't take the bait because it's just him. There's a human level there that they couldn't predict where he just wasn't going to go for it. So I really like that. But everyone is too happy between Saul and Kim all episode. You were waiting for the moment where it was going to like hit. And it did hit for Kim, where her boss comes into her office and says, "Hey, maybe we should take a break, from Mesa Verde for a bit. You've got your pro bono cases. We've got this other thing," he said, "this other case that's coming in. Maybe you can divide your time with that just for a little while. I'll take." And he kind of like sort of suggested it's under the guise of, well, since Jimmy's the opposition, I'll do this for now, so there's no conflict. Which again, and Kim herself sort of tried to do that with Kevin at the start of the episode. Yeah,
but I think that was a really intentional play where she knew that he'd go, no, not a chance. And I think that's where the arrogance almost comes into it on Kim and Saul's part in this sense, in that they knew he was prideful enough that he wouldn't let Kim go, but not enough. But they thought they'd still win by making him choose the other lot instead.
Yeah, that was actually some of the details that I really loved when she came in as well, is that he was asking, where it was, and it's like, oh, was it the country club? Oh, right up against tea time, so he's stressed, we're getting to him, because it's like, and she's like, no, he actually had to move the game, like, we had to reschedule. It's like, oh, great, like, it's like that, he's getting under his skin.
Yeah.
So, that's good stuff, but, and she's kind of like, well, I don't really need to, but, I mean, what's going on, blah, 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 and eventually, like she's like insists, like, I need to know why you're doing this. Like, what is this? And he doesn't even go all the way. And what he says, he just says, "Okay, you want to know? Fine. You wanted, you went out to see the guy. I had to call you in to go and see him, and then you offered the second location, and Kevin didn't bite. And then all of a sudden, miraculously, your boyfriend is the opposition, and I don't buy it. I don't buy the coincidence." And that's all he says. And he walks out. And this is, again, talk about pride. Because Kim could leave it there. Because he's clearly, this is the thing, he's clearly at a point right now where he's going to let this slide. He doesn't really seem to even, maybe not cares, maybe not the right phrase, but he seems to be willing to let this just sort of go under the bridge, sort of take care of it, and sort of work around it, and then just move on with their lives, because she's a good lawyer, she's good there, blah, blah, blah.
But yeah, basically just, you move off this case, let us win and beat your boyfriend, and it'll be fine, and we'll forget all about it.
Yeah, he's willing to just let it all go, but she has to storm out the office and yell at him in front of everyone, demanding to know what she's been accused of. And the beauty of this is that she's guilty. Like that's what makes it so good.
I felt the arrogance of this, and also the intent of she chose to do this out in public where they would all hear it to show just how defiant she is and how it gives the impression she is so confident she's in the right, even though we know she's not. It gives that impression to her colleagues that she is so absolutely right in this, that this is an unfair accusation.
It's a Saul play. She's doing this dramatically in the way Saul would, but I think it is also partly also down to, like, even though she knows she's guilty, even though she knows she crossed this line and she's doing this Saul's way, I think the idea of being accused triggered her so much that even though she had to go out and defend herself, even though she knows she's guilty, she had to defend herself because the thought of, like, someone thinking this about her, like, is so detestable to her that she had to do it. She had to say something. And at one point, after the first couple of sentences, he even says, "Oh, let's talk about this in my office, not out here." And she insists, "No, we're doing it out here. What are you accusing me of?" And she names a couple of things, and yeah, it's this awkward thud of a moment, and you can tell she goes back to her office. The camera stays on her, and we see her just have this moment on her own where she's like, "I maybe shouldn't have done that."
And it was this moment where she was walking back into the office after this outburst where I was like, this actually might be the thing that brings her down.
Do you know what I love about it? And this is again what's so good about the writing on this show, is that this was unquestionably the wrong thing to do. But I am not even remotely frustrated because everything fits her character, and we're sitting here talking about why she did this, her motivations, why this has triggered her the way it has. And all of it makes sense, and all of it feels like, even if it's the wrong thing to do, you understand 100% why she's made this mistake.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's
why this show is one of the best shows on TV. It just is.
I mean, again, to compare it to other shows, how many other shows do we complain that someone makes a mistake just to create a plot beat?
Yeah, or when they do something like this, it feels out of character for the sake of drama.
Yeah, I mean, hell, the entire Last Jedi is basically just characters making mistakes for no goddamn reason.
That is the point of that movie.
Still frustrating to watch.
It is not.
There's no one to root for in that. See, in this show,
so many people to root for.
In this show, I am rooting for everyone, despite the fact that I know their endings are all doomed. In Last Jedi, there's no one I want to, even though it's a Star Wars movie, I know everyone's going to have a happy ending because it's Star Wars. It has to have a happy ending because it's for kiddies.
Why are you still shit on Last Jedi? Go shit on Rise of Skywalker. I'm enjoying you on that one.
Yeah, that's also terrible. But the specific complaint of characters doing the wrong thing to advance the plot was definitely more applicable in Last Jedi.
It was for character development.
Oh yeah, character development. Yeah.
Yes, they made mistakes and learned from them. Or they should have done.
I'm going to get some missing posters to put up in the lamp post saying character development in Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Lost it. Has anyone found it? There'll be a cash reward.
Oh, you better pay up.
Well, can I put it on the side of a milk carton? just a picture. Anyway. So no, scene's fantastic, wonderfully acted, and the emotion from Kim felt very raw. So the performance was wonderful, as we expect. So really good stuff. But yeah, so, and of course we have what comes after this. We have further, where, and this is the thing, there's a moment in my head where I was thinking, is Saul trying to goad her into going further? Because the way he's talking, in a way, kind of sounds like it, but at the same time, his performance, and this is where it comes down to just the dialogue on its own, and then the performance mixed in with it. I felt like the performance was conflicted, where I feel like Saul, by his nature, kind of wants to goad her on, but at the same time, he knows he shouldn't. So he's kind of saying it in a way where he's presenting the choice to her, but I think he's actually being quite genuine when he says to her, look, this is where we really should stop. Like, I think he is genuinely kind of recommending that. But of course, the second she's like, no, let's do it.
he has no resistance left.
Yeah.
I think he's offering her an out, but it's genuine enough that if she does say, all right, we're stopping, he probably would. But he's not offering it with conviction.
And like he says, like, you tried your best. You went above and beyond. You did everything you could for this guy. and it still, didn't quite work. Like, you can sleep easy at night. You tried. You really did. More than anyone.
He's not wrong, and as much as she is, wanting to do the right thing, she really has tried here.
And that's the really the hurtful part of this, is that you understand why she wants to do it, but this is the thing. The out is kind of perfect. Like, she can take the out here. Her conscience is relatively clear because she's done a lot to try and help him. But at the same time, this will stop her from getting into any trouble if she just walks away now. This is perfect.
It is, absolutely. And I just, it works so well because, Jimmy, he's being so genuine with this. Like, no, you've done enough. And because a lot of the times this would feel like him just taking the easy way out, right? As he often does, he'll take the shortest path and, well, this will do. And this, for once, really isn't that. It's, no, you really have put in the work. And I wonder if there's a bit of her that doesn't believe him because she knows that he always takes the easy path. So this is in her mind is going, if he's saying this is enough, then it's probably not.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like it's maybe more to do with like how because he always kind of gets these things done, right? He always kind of gets away with it, and I feel like she's thinking of the situation and going, if there's a way that you can think of proceeding because you always pull things off, then let's go for it. And this is an example of like, stop lowering her, stop having her. Go back to that speech from season 1 with Mike, where he talked about how his son, like he turned his son into someone who took the money and he got killed anyway for it, right? He made him a lesser person and he still died for it. I feel like this is making Kim a lesser person for ultimately no reason.
Yeah, that speech kind of defines Jimmy and Kim's entire relationship for the whole show, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those things where you think the Mike plots are often quite separate. Like, no, they connect thematically. They happily slap together beautifully. So,
oh, definitely, yeah. I think there are times where they feel like they're more cohesive than others, but in the long game, they always kind of work out.
Speaking of, when she wants to go ahead, he calls Mike, and Mike basically just says no, piss off, which I kind of loved. It was really funny. Like, Kim's waiting by the phone, like, yeah, okay, you've got a guy for this, and I was like, oh, are we going to get Mike and Kim scenes? Because we never really had that. That'd be something.
No, but Mike's a bit under the weather.
Yes, he's out of the country as well, which is also important.
Yeah.
So Jimmy goes to someone else that he's not really used before, and they're not impressed with his PI skills. Especially, I love at the end when he's like, well, we could go one step further. I could get a couple other guys and we could show up with the masks and, beat the shit out of them, take them out to the desert. And Jimmy's like, okay, we're done here. Off you go.
This was the moment that broke me. This was the funniest moment of the episode for me. Because it escalates so quickly. Where, it's like, hey, I'm a professional. I broke into I got into the house, I got all this information, pictures, whatever. Like, I did my job.
Yeah.
And Jim's like, could you get into his office then? And he's like, I can do you better than that.
Worth mentioning that we did speak this out of order. The scene in the office was after this because she was looking in the computer at what she saw in the photos at the start of that scene. So that did come last. The Kim scene where she yelled at her boss was last.
Yeah.
But she does notice that she notices the horse. And I don't recall if this the guy in the horse image has ever come up before, but she just smiles. She looks up at Jimmy and smiles like, oh, we have it. We have our smoking gun.
She knows. I don't know if it's just us not noticing and putting it together, which is possible, or if it is something that this show does a lot, even down to just the end of last episode where it's like, the characters know what they're doing, they've got the plan, but we're not in on it yet.
Yeah. So, and admittedly, I think this is lesser on the list of reasons why she did react the way she did, but I wonder if she knows she has a smoking gun, so she feels confident about going in and winning. Essentially,
it could be, yeah.
I mean, I say winning, I mean letting Jimmy win, for lack of a better term.
Winning morally.
Yeah. So, really, really fun stuff. And even just Saul allowing Kim to be there for this meeting and sort of being there when he calls Mike, it feels like, he's letting her into his world, but that's not necessarily a good thing for her. That may actually be a bad thing. So
I laughed a lot at the other guy as well when Kim's treating this properly and asking all these questions. And he's like, I don't know about this nail salon lawyer, but she's clearly a professional, so I'm going to let her ask the questions.
So, no, that was good stuff. And then, go over to Mike. There was no natural this episode, but we did have A lot of Mike in his little compound in Mexico, which is result of Gus. The woman who he's with can't speak any English, but the doctor does kind of explain to him when he tries to leave, because he tries to leave and his wound opens up and he's like, yeah, you can't really travel for at least a week. Like, you're going to have to let yourself heal before you can move. And so Mike begrudgingly stays back, although he does kind of bond with the woman a little bit when she brings him like a plug when he's trying to like build a charger for his phone.
Yeah.
So they bond a little bit. He helps her repair the window, and he calls Gus wanting to know why he's there, and he just says, now's not the time, hangs up, and Mike's livid.
I can't wait to see what exactly he was doing. Like, I feel like we'll get a hint of that probably in the next episode of what Gus was really busy dealing with.
Oh, very possibly, yeah.
I feel like we might, not like flashbacks, so to speak, but more just we'll get some dialogue that tells us what was going on.
Oh, he was clearly working on, we'll get the idea that he was clearly prepping something or whatever. So there's a great little scene actually where some school kids run past them. It's when he's kind of considering leaving again, and he's like basically trying to size up, can he physically make the trip? And he can't, but he's thinking about it. And like a kid bumps into him and drops her bag, and he kind of helps her, and it's kind of this sweet moment where he's maybe calmed down a little bit because, hey, innocent children, because he's a nice old man.
It's always been his weakness.
Yeah. We reveal this very sort of pretty like fountain in the middle of this area, which is otherwise, cause this fountain does kind of stick out. It's clearly more expensive than everything else around it.
Yeah, the rest of it feels very rustic, I think is the word I'll use. Whereas this fountain feels like something you could see in the middle of any major city. Yeah.
We see that it's actually dedicated to Max. So if you remember correctly from Breaking Bad, Max was Gus's partner that was killed in the flashback. So this is it never came up, but I was actually wondering if the woman was going to turn out to be Max's mother or something like that. Like I thought that maybe that was going to be a connection, and maybe not. Maybe it's nothing
it
like that.
Been, but it's not something we need to know. But I mean, it could still be the case.
Yeah, that was my theory. I was popped in my head as soon as I saw the name. And
reasonable theories, any.
So Mike's repairing the window. He's starting to feel good about himself because he's been proactive and doing things. Because you know what he's like. Mike needs to be working on something.
Yeah, and she's like, "Take it easy," and he's like, "I'm fine."
Yeah. So Gus eventually shows up, and Mike's like, "Look, I've turned down your money. I don't want to be your like number 2 guy or number 1 guy. I don't want to be your right hand man in this." And Gus is like, "Oh, we've got a war, and I'm better than the Salamancas. They're awful, and I'm better." And Mike's like, "How are you better? Like, in what way are you better?" And ultimately, the episode ends with Gus saying, "I think you understand it." And he's like, "Understand what?" And he just says, "Revenge." And I think it's notable they're standing next to this fountain for Max because Gus has hated the Salamancas like forever.
It's kind of been his sole driving motivation for years at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the only time we didn't have him hating the Salamancas was when we had that flashback before they killed Max. Like, before that part of that flashback. Everything since then in the timeline, Gus has hated them. Whether he's hiding it or he's, being open with it is another question. But he's like, no, I want a soldier. 'Cause that's what he says. We're at war, and I need a soldier. And we know that Mike's still with him in Breaking Bad, so I do kind of love this idea of, like, okay, he's been kind of dabbling with Mike a little bit over the last season and a half, but how does Mike really become like a full-timer? How does he kind of end up sticking with him? Very curious. And this is one of those things where as soon as he said the word revenge, I'm like, it's about to cut. That's the line you cut on.
Yeah. Sometimes you just know it in this show.
Yeah, which is not a complaint. Like, it was the perfect line to go out on.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to believe that there was a time, even as late as when we were introducing Gus, that I'm like, is this the right thing to be doing in this show? To be going full in on like, okay, look, we're just doing Breaking Bad prequel stuff now, rather than Saul, right? Which was kind of what we were expecting from the start. And then you get to this point, and it's just so perfectly crafted that I think at that point there was a fear, not that they wouldn't do something interesting, but more just that it would feel like, oh, we're doing this because it's a prequel, right? Like so many other prequels have. And at every single moment, bar one, it has defied those expectations.
I think part of it is just obviously because it's so well written and directed, and the performances, and like every scene on its own is treated like it's doing something important. So it doesn't. Yeah. It very rarely, if ever, feels like, oh, we're just doing something for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, it truly feels like it enhances the Breaking Bad experience as well, right? Like in the future, when you watch that show again, it will be better because you have seen this.
And I think the important thing here is that so much of what Gus is going through is about Mike's story. Ultimately, this show is about Jimmy's journey, and it's about Mike's journey. And Kim as well. I mean, Kim, obviously, at the start of the show, we'd have said, oh, she's just part of Saul's journey. But honestly, as it's went on, she's kind of become just as important as a character.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're saying it's tragic that Saul's the influence that drags her down. But I think that's the key bit. It's Saul dragging her down, not, oh, she's just there as part of Saul's story.
Absolutely. They made us care about her. Like, they made us care about her. They made us care about Chuck. They made us care about, to an extent, Natural. Natural's getting, obviously, his own plot lines these days.
Yeah, and some of the other Spawn characters, like Howard, has been, really, really solid in just the way they've played off things and really complemented the show.
Yeah, so... No, that's another knockout episode. I think Kim's decisions to try and help this man and try and kind of work against her own company have been pretty riveting. And it's just been kind of this focus that the show's had for the last few episodes that's really allowed both Kim and Saul to really grow as characters. Or not even necessarily grow, but just let us see them where they are now. Let us really examine what they are as characters.
I don't think they've changed in these past couple of episodes yet. I think it's the problem is, we're seeing Kim at this point, and like I say, I throughout this episode, I'm feeling this fear of, oh God, this is it for Kim. This is what ruins her, and that's the change that's coming, and it's the fear of that's so powerful.
What's beautiful about it is that for such a long time we were saying, oh God, when Saul finally makes that switch, and I think we definitely say that switch came at the finale of the last season when he switched to Saul Goodman, and Kim sort of was left standing there, and we thought, man, is she going to drift away once? And the tragedy is that she doesn't take the out when he goes off the deep end. To an extent, she is going with him, and it actually hurts more. And you're like, no, Kim, don't follow his lead. Not that he has went completely off deep, because he hasn't. He's not like a million miles away from what it was before, but there's definitely he's definitely accepted the type of person that he is and the type of lawyer he is now, and he's actively avoiding being anything better.
Yeah, but I think the key difference is between the Saul we have here and the Saul we knew in Breaking Bad, which fundamentally aren't that different in a professional capacity. I think they're pretty much the same now. I think the key difference is, though, that this Saul still has Kim. That's the only thing that's making him seem so likable and such a good person, as opposed to when we knew him in Breaking Bad. I think that is literally the only thing that is holding him still in place.
Assuming Kim lives, which to be fair, I think it's more likely she lives, but assuming Kim lives, we have to have Kim and Saul meeting in the black and white section. We have to have the encounter. But do you know that scene from Breaking Bad where Walt came home and he had that one-on-one with Skylar, and it was the most honest conversation that it felt so earned, just to have him admit when he says, "I did it for me," that line is such a culmination. And I feel like this show will not necessarily have that moment, but I feel like you have to have Kim and Saul reflecting. And I don't know if you can do that before the time jump, because presumably it'll be quite fresh before the time jump.
No, I agree. I think assuming that it goes kind of the way, I mean, not that it's safe to assume this at all, but it's kind of going the way we're thinking, with Kim kind of having this tragic downfall in her career because she gets suckered into Jimmy's schemes like this. I feel like you want him to apologize, right? And kind of understand that it was kind of his influence that dragged her down. Yeah,
so you're thinking that final meeting could be him finally admitting that he did this to her.
I don't think you can do that without the time.
Yeah,
I really don't think you need that time for him to understand that, because I don't think he will. Even as devastated and heartbroken as he will be at that moment, because he's still, at his heart, he's still Jimmy when it comes to Kim. I don't think he will quite understand the gravity of what he's done until later on.
Yeah. Now, this show surprises us many times, so we may get nothing like this.
It's very possible.
But at the same time, if it gives me exactly that, I will probably love it every second of it and not be, because sometimes being able to predict one of the outcomes and having it actually be the thing is just because they've set it up well enough that that's what's satisfying. And not just in the sense that it's what I want to see, but it's what's dramatically satisfying because it's a story they've told. But anyway, that is episode 5, season 5. Better Call Saul. We're halfway through the penultimate season. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your troubles in those higher tiers. And you can go and have a look and see if you're interested in any of that stuff. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?